Hi, welcome to the UPM Book Club. We are reading Seize the Time by Bobby Seale. We are starting off today at the section about the Sacramento jail. Comrade Sean, you have the mic.
Have the floor? How lovely. Eldridge spotted her brother down inside the cell. He was bleeding. Somehow Eldridge detected more than I detected when I first looked at him. Eldridge could see that his face was all fucked up. Then he began to groan. Eldridge said, "Hey brother, what's wrong?" He got down, looked at him, and saw the brother's eye was almost hanging out of his head. His face was swollen up around his right eye. The pigs had beat up the side of his head. His nose was bleeding too. A pig come to the door later on, and Eldridge told that pig that he'd better get this man to the hospital. You get this man to a hospital. Look at his eye. Look what's happened to him. His head's all swollen up and everything. Eldridge knows how to deal with the pigs and the prisons. The pigs went on and got themselves together and called the ambulance and took the man to the hospital. That was very good. We got the brother out of there to the hospital. The pigs had whipped him all up inside, and he was drunk too. The pigs beat cats up when they're hang on a sec, I gotta lower my hand. When they're drunk, just because they're sadistic motherfuckers. And they have anybody who's helpless and they can beat him. That was the way a lot of that shit went down in Sacramento. A little after that, they decided to move all 18 of us to this big tank, this big drunk tank. You had to take your shoes off, and you couldn't have any cigarettes or stuff like that. A couple of lawyers had gotten together, and they had gotten up there from Oakland. We got one of the lawyers to go to the cigarette machine and smuggle us some cigarettes. They called out to me to try to sign some jive-ass statement. I didn't have to sign a statement. Nobody signed any statements. I think one brother almost broke down and got weak and almost signed the statement, but he held on. I was out there refusing to sign the statement for quite a while, and when I came back in, the brothers had already smuggled some cigarettes in while I was out there. The lawyers wanted to talk to me, and I talked to them for a long time. The pigs seen all this smoking there and began searching for the cigarettes, trying to find the cigarettes. But the brothers hid them in a loose piece of tile near the ventilator in the ceiling. Before they left, Eldridge... Oh. Okay, hang on a sec. Eldridge and I said, "When are we going to get some food in here?" One of the pigs was talking about, "You ain't gonna get no food," and Eldridge vamped on him. What you talking about? We ain't gonna get no food. We're going to get some food in this motherfucker, or don't you motherfuckers never come up to this door no more, because you come up to this door, there's 18 of us and maybe 3, 4, or 5 of you. Big Willie walked up, and the pigs looked at him. Willie was a bad-looking cat. He looked like he could knock a dude out of the picture, which he could. I saw him knock a dude out later on in Big Greystone. We were mad because the brothers started getting hungry. They got to remembering the big pans of chicken everyone was going to eat. The brothers were mad about that chicken. That's when we told them, "Don't you come back in here." Oh, geez. Because if you come up in here, you might get your heads whipped. And Big Willie walked up and put his arms up. That was a righteous protest. Personally, oh, well, Personally, they weren't going to feed us. Personally, I thought they weren't going to feed us. I thought they were going to lock us up and just never come back. But 45 minutes later, the dude said, "All right, line up, line up, line up. Let's go. Hit the food, hit the food." All the brothers lined up to get on that food because you gotta live. Everybody lined up, and we had a bag apiece. We had a carton of milk, a cheese sandwich, a hamburger, and an orange. We were hungry, man. We hadn't eaten all day, and it was 5 or 6 o'clock that evening. We knew they weren't going to feed us, and we were getting mad remembering that chicken. It wasn't only Big Willie jumping up talking about, "I'll knock you out," but then everybody was saying, "You'd better get some food in here, you goddamn motherfucker. Who the fuck do you think you are? You better bring some goddamn food in here. We've had this shit." That was a little power play we made on them. They went out and bought our food. That's the way you have to do it. Use them tactics. That was very important to revive the spirits. Everybody was kind of down except for Eldridge. Most of the other brothers hadn't been to jail. Some of the brothers were sloughing in the corner while we were busted. Mark Comfort's boys, two of them sloughed out, jumped up, talking about, "If I had known this was going to happen, I'd never come along." Just got to jibing. They hadn't been in enough situations with Huey P. Newton out there out on the streets. There was a couple of other brothers who had been in jail before who could relate to the situation because that's all there was to it. I personally had this goddamn feeling that I had just made a big mistake. I kept running over it, but it made me feel good too because we were vamping on these pigs, and Eldridge just knew more about how to vamp on the pigs than I did. I was glad he was there that day. I'd been in jail before, but that was in a military stockade. I had been in a stockade twice for 1 month and 8 months when I was in the Air Force. Ah, jeez. And most of the time I had been to jail. In between those times was 10 days here, 12 days there, or 30 days in Los Angeles on some bullshit. But Eldridge knew how to deal with the pigs. He was vamping on them in a minute, and it always made me feel good to know he was there because he wasn't going to let pigs mess over any of us. He'd remember things like food and how to talk to the motherfuckers. All the brothers' spirits revived. I know just most of the brothers must have had thoughts about what we said in the last point of the program. Jeez. I was having a devil of a time adjusting. Last point in the program, we wanted land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. But the brothers knew that bread was food, righteous food. I knew they must have remembered that because I remembered it. We were off in jail there, and the man was talking about how we weren't going to eat shit. He must have been crazy. Burn that padded cell up one way or the other. We had no matches or anything, but we would have found something to burn it up with and cause shit. Brothers started ripping those iron strips on the wall. Big Willie started ripping them off. Big Willie had lifted some powerful weights and his muscles just rippled all over his arms. He had been in the joint before. He got most of that in the joint. He got a lot of it, I found out later, outside on the streets. Anyway, Big Willie Thompson, the Black Panthers, and Eldridge Cleaver were all in jail there. We finally ate, and after we ate, most of us laid out across the padded cell floor and went to sleep. I went out and made a phone call. A lot of brothers went in and out making phone calls. I called the bail bondsman. I called Williams Bail Bonds. He's an older cat, about 45 years old. He's a boyfriend of my sister's, and he told me on the phone that Huey had already been to the office and he had gone somewhere to do a radio program to get some support, saying that we should be set free. We were political prisoners. I told him that I wanted him to bail out all the brothers now. Just bail us out and we'll raise the money for you. He'd said he said he'd see what he could do about getting on up there. So I said, if you can't bail out all of them, then bail out me and Eldridge right now. The reason I wanted Eldridge bailed out was because Eldridge was on parole. When a dude's on parole or probation, the teletypes get to working from city to city. They find out about the person being on parole, and they'll call up the parole officer and make him put a hold on him right away. One time Huey was getting out of jail in Berkeley. He was on his way down the stairs, coming out of the front door, and the teletypes got to working. 10 pigs ran downstairs and grabbed him and said, "Your probation officer put a hold on you, so you can't get bailed out." That's why I told Lionel Williams to try to bail out Eldridge, me, or anybody right away, right quick. But he didn't do it. Anyway, we got some sleep. It had been a long day. We'd done a lot of revolutionary work for the party. Um, Revolutionary and political work. I remember George Dowell talking about how he never was going to jail no more. He didn't like jails. I can relate to that brother's feelings about jail because George Dowell had five, maybe six children. The youngest one was about 3 or 4 years old. His wife was at home in North Richmond. His brother Denzel had been killed. He readily joined the Panther Party because he knew it was the right thing. He understood that you couldn't call on pigs to help you. He related to that unity.
You bumped your mute button, Sean. Your audio cut out. We related to that unity.
Mm. Oh, jeez. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Now we can.
Sorry about that. My sister called me.
Oh, okay. I thought you bumped your mute button because it just instantly muted you.
Yeah, no. He related to that unity we were talking about, the unity of Black people defending themselves against these pigs murdering us in our community. But his wife and his kids home there, he just couldn't see being locked up in jail. George had also talked about how he was supposed to have uh, been back to work that night. That job, of course, was directly related to his family, and he just hated to be locked in jail. He was never going to jail no more. He just didn't like it. But I kept reassuring the brothers, and I began to ask the brothers their names because with some of the brothers, I didn't know their full names. I wanted to remember the names, so that if I got bailed out right away, I could tell the bail bondsman which names to ask for. Because sometimes if you come up and say you want to bail some people out and you don't know their names, the pigs won't bail them out. I asked them their names for that specific reason. Pigs will withhold information on you while you're inside the jail in a minute. Anyways, we fell asleep. I guess it was about 12 or 1 o'clock at night, and somebody came in there, called me. One of the brothers shook me to kind of help wake me up and said, "You're getting bailed out. Let's go." I looked around. I saw all the brothers asleep. I said, "Well, I won't disturb them. The best thing to do is get on out of uh, get on out of here and start working to get some bail money to get these brothers out of here." So I got out and went downstairs. Mark Comfort was there with the lawyers. One of the lawyers was Beverly Axelrod. I explained to her the best thing to do was to run back to Oakland and get Huey so I could get with Huey and figure out a way to get the bail money together and get all the brothers bailed out. We jumped in the car and drove on down the 90 miles to Oakland. I didn't even go to sleep. We drove all the way down. In fact, I drove. I'd already had some sleep. They were pretty tired, and I drove all the way in. We got to my house on 57th Street in Oakland. Huey was waiting there and handed me a cold Colt 45 beer. Huey greeted me and said, "Brother, you were good. You were beautiful. You were a true revolutionary. You did the job you were supposed to do." He shook my hand, wrapped his arm around my shoulder like the brother will do when he knows we've done righteous revolutionary work. We sat down and I explained a few other things. Other than what the TV had put over, we talked a little bit, talked to Beverly about the fact that we had to get these brothers out on bail. I guess it was about 3 in the morning by then, so we decided to take off at 6 to make sure that we were back in Sacramento by 8. I went to sleep and somebody came back over to my house and got me up. Huey, Beverly, and I jumped into the car about 6:15 and cut out back to Sacramento.
Right on. Thank you, comrade. I'm curious. Would y'all like to do with this like we have been with the poems in the other reading group to pause and discuss between each section? Because if so, we can do that.
I think a good idea, and I not to jump in first, but I just wanted to get in there and say, yeah, I think that's definitely a good idea. While the thought is still fresh in our mind, and what we were talking about is dealing with the cops and knowing how to talk to the cops. That's very important, and not being scared to go to jail. Like you mentioned, like, oh, I went a couple weeks here, I went 3 weeks here. I guess he spent a month in Los Angeles County, which is not surprising. They've always been racist and hold us a little bit longer. Somebody will get a week, we'll get a month. But I thought that was a good point that he made in conversing with the guy, because we're not supposed to be talking with the cops or having anything to do with the cops. But when they come at us at a personal level, we definitely have to know our rights, and we definitely have to know what we're standing for, and we have to understand that we may get arrested. It might come to that, but don't say anything. We don't have to say anything. And then when you have the right to bail, well, then most of us knowing we'll get bailed out right away. Or when we have civil attorneys that'll defend us, well, then it gives you a little bit more leeway to like not be so scared of them. Like, come on, let's go before we miss breakfast or lunch. Let's go. That's all. And I got my glasses on, so whoever wants to read next, feel free. And if not, I can pick up the third time or whatever, however it goes. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you, comrade. And yeah, that's important to know, even like how to respond when the cops stop you and fuck with you. One of the most golden moments I've ever seen. I saw a video a few days ago of these guys. They were like just mid conversation, minding their own fucking business, and a couple of pigs walked up to them and started trying to ask them questions, and they didn't even acknowledge their existence. They acted like they could not see or hear these pigs trying to talk to them, and continued their conversation to a point of silliness. I think they were talking about food or some shit, and the cops kept trying, like, excuse me, can we talk for a minute, and trying to fucking fire questions at them. They just kept talking about, their conversation, and fucking ignored them. And after a minute, the cops gave up and walked the fuck away. And it's like, damn, that's a good way to handle that. It's like, I'm not even going to acknowledge your existence. I literally have nothing to say to you.
I'm not gonna acknowledge you. I'm just gonna literally ignore you, because that's literally how I get down. Okay, like I don't want to talk. I'll just be like, anyway, as I was saying, like,
yeah, that's how you got to be with them. Like, no, you know, because I mean, there's always the fallback of, like, especially if you're alone, don't have anybody to carry on that conversation with. You know, literally when they fire questions at you, I do not answer questions without my lawyer. Am I free to go? Always keep asking them, am I actually under arrest or am I free to go?
right.
Because if I'm free to go, I'm going to go. If I'm under arrest, under what charges? And lawyer.
It's like what specifically, you know?
Yeah.
I was going to ask, did Comrade Xenia share a little bit of, Yesenia, excuse me, did she share a little bit of the things she did, things to do when cops confront you and stuff like that? I don't know, because my phone had died yesterday on the study group. But anyway, she did it in English and Spanish, which was really nice. And it's not just cops; it's ICE and it's all the other agencies that come disguised as cops. And just knowing that you don't have to say shit, and if you have to go, you have to go. And like they go, I don't know. In most cases, they make it a real hard, difficult time to release you. But if you can get bailed out, or if you can get some kind of lawyer, damn, that's important, because nowadays they don't even, they just drum up charges. They'll put charges on you, like the cats back in the old days. The cops were just targeting them and bringing some bullshit stuff to, like, just create a case. It's like create a case, and then they'll say, if you want to go to court, well then, like, if most people would say, let's all take it to the box, everybody take it to the box, it would overcrowd the box. That the courts and the systems wouldn't want to be trying something for some petty bullshit, because everybody's at the box. Like, what are you going to be? And then like, no, I'm not going to sign over my time to waive time. No, I want to be tried immediately. And if everybody signed to be tried immediately, like that would really throw a loop in the system, so many people wouldn't be incarcerated, because they would be overwhelmed with the little stupid shit they give away with the tickets and all this other little bullshit. That's all.
Yeah, that's one of those things, like, a lot of people don't know their rights, not just with the expedited trial, but even like when you are first arrested, you have the right to demand to see a magistrate. It don't matter if it's the middle of the fucking night, they're supposed to call one and wake them up. Like, you have those rights right along with, you know, your right to an attorney, things like that. If they deny you that phone call to call your attorney, they're committing a fucking crime there. Also, for the longest time, there was the precedent of they have to have reasonable, justifiable cause to arrest you for something. I need to look this up. I saw something the other day online about the Supreme Court overturning that and saying, no, the cops can come at it afterwards and go, oh, well, now that we've been holding this person, we've found something that we can use to try to justify having arrested them in the first place. The case that was being referenced was a guy who apparently had been walking in the wrong direction for the side of the street he was on. Didn't even know that was a thing. Like, that's not even jaywalking. That's just, which direction are you going and which side of the street? What the fuck? And so when they arrested him for no fucking reason, they had no justifiable cause, but they came back afterwards trying to say, oh, well, see we can justify the arrest now because we remembered he was walking the wrong way down the street.
That's a good point you bring out there because, you know, what I was thinking is they make so many laws every year, right? Like they add like, I don't know the number of laws they add per year, but say over a 20-year period, they probably added a lot of laws. And like if you're kind of old fashioned, you don't know about no new laws. Like there's even laws in certain areas, don't spit on the sidewalk. Bam. Or any, and I mean, so like in different areas, there's different laws. And how do you know? Like, especially if you go to different areas, like, well, that could be a law in your area, but like my law in my street is get the hell out the street and get off the sidewalk as fast as possible. Um, so I don't know, man. That's crazy though. But they do that, and then they use little simple tactics like that. Well, you were jaywalking, just a reason to come at you. It's ridiculous, and they continue to do that, and we've got to stand strong. That's all.
Yeah. Because they'll do anything they can to wrap your ass up and have you in jail and then try to find anything and everything under the sun they can make up to try to fucking charge you with and keep holding you and holding you. Fuck that shit. What's that, Shay?
No, I was gonna say that, well, let me just give you a little rundown on when I got arrested, I was 14 years old. And I was arrested for murder in the first degree. And I went to court, criminal court, about 3 weeks later. And they threw the charges out. I mean, threw it out, which meant that I walked out of court. But as I walked out of court and walking out into the street, I got rearrested on the same charge. And I went back, they took me back in, and 2 weeks later, I returned to court. And they did the same thing. They did the same thing. They let me go. And yet, when I was leaving court, I didn't even get to the street. When I got left the courtroom, as I was in the hallway, I got rearrested on the same charge. Remember, that's double jeopardy.
I was just about to say that. The
So-
only way they can do that is if they PFI the investigation and they release you without any fucking charges at all. Otherwise, yeah, that's fucking double jeopardy.
Yeah.
That happened to me. And then when I went back to court about 3 weeks later, they said, well, we're going to turn this case over to the Supreme Court. That's when it was all over. There was no more double jeopardy and none of that stuff. But I was left out, man, twice. Twice I was left out. I said, God, and so throughout the years, I wonder about that, whether there was any possibility that I could afford that. But I didn't fight it because I was a kid. I was a young kid. I didn't care, man, I got to a point that, when I was on trial, I just wanted to stop the shit, man, and send me a state, man. Let me do this fucking time, whatever time they're gonna give me. I don't care. I had a I don't care attitude when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I was a gangster, man, I was in a gang, so I had that attitude, man. And then when I came home, after 15 years, I came home. As I'm leaving, and I'm getting all these clothes, people, the pigs talk to me. I'm looking at them, and I ain't say shit. They gave me $40. I took it, put it in my pocket. I said, "Where's the door?" He says, "Right there." So I went into the door, and I got into this bus that took me to the city. It's about an 8-hour ride on this bus. But I didn't say nothing to them. They were saying to me, "Oh, Che, you finally out, huh? You ain't gonna give us no more trouble." not looking at them like like they're stupid. I didn't say shit.
As you
I'm
should.
curious, was it the
Huh?
same judge both times, or was that two different judges that let you out? And
The same
what were
judge. The
and
same judge.
Of
were
course
they
it was.
kicking you loose because of it being self-defense? What was the
Huh?
judge's reasoning? What was the judge's reasoning for dropping those charges both times? Was it because it was self-defense? And
Because
then
they felt that there wasn't enough evidence to charge me. See, eventually what happened was that they found evidence, and the evidence they found was a knife. The same knife that I stabbed him in the street. I threw it in the street and I ran.
Yeah.
See, because the guy, me and this guy, we tussling, and I happened to take the knife away from him. So when I took the knife away from him, I was reeling, man. I was all smoked up. So when I took the knife away from him, I stabbed him with it, and I mean, I didn't know he died. I just took the knife and I threw it, and I ran with the other people to get part of the gang that I was in. We ran out the block because, first of all, we went to that block looking for a person who was messing around with one of our people, and we found them, and just when we found them, we started arguing, and in the process, a gang fight broke out, and I was part of it. And this guy just jumped out in front of my face, man. He was tussling with me, and he took a knife out. And when he took a knife out, I took it away from him, and I stabbed him. But I didn't know I killed him. I didn't know I killed him until about 3 days later when they arrested me for murder.
you were just a kid
So,
trying to protect your own fucking life. He was trying to kill
that's
you.
it, man. That's the bottom line. I mean, if I didn't stab him, he would have stabbed me. And that's what I was trying to tell the lawyer. I said, I did this in self-defense. This is self-defense. This wasn't something that I premeditatedly, as you say, that they charged me premeditated murder. This wasn't no premeditated murder. This was justifiable homicide. I mean, shit. But at that time, I had a don't give a fuck attitude, man. So I didn't care.
You'd been through so much shit already that it was just like, oh,
I've been
this is
through
the
so
trauma
much shit in
today.
my life, man. I mean, I've been when I was a kid, younger than that, I was in institutions. I was in mental institutions. They put me in a mental institution simply because of the fact I ran away from home. God damn, man, I ran away from home. They put me in a mental institution. And then the social worker that interviewed me said that I had mental problems. What kind of social work was that?
I mean,
Well,
it's so.
I could see there being some trauma from having been abused, but yeah, that's actually quite sane of you to go, hey, I'm tired of being abused. I think I'm gonna fucking run away. That's an act of self-preservation that isn't affecting anybody else. That's fucked.
I've been in so much shit, man, as a kid, man, it's big.
Comrade Joe, I see you got your hand up. What's up?
Yes, Comrade Che, I'm sorry you had to go through that, but that's a living testimony of what we can get to the streets today. The whole school to prison pipeline, even them bringing in police at the school. I heard on a conversation this weekend, like, where was the principal with a suit and a tie, saying good morning to the parents when they walked into the school? The kindergartner seeing a police there with a gun, with a pepper spray, a bulletproof vest. Like, that's what they get to walk to school to see. But at the same point, we have to remember that the system has always kept us barrios down. They've always did that. that targeted us. And now with that whole concept of even having the police in the schools, they target us from early youth. And I mentioned that earlier. But and then it's illegal to question a youth without their parents being there. Just like it's illegal to question an adult without a lawyer being present.
I mean, I was
And
questioning the priest.
the right
In the
to-
priest, I was questioning. You know, I was questioned and beat up. I was beat up in the precinct. I was beat up by the police. You know, they questioned me. You know, and beat up at the same time. No, there was no lawyer present. They didn't say, "Well, you entitled for a lawyer." I didn't know nothing about no law, so they took advantage of me when I was a kid. They really did.
They did. They even slammed me up against the hood of a police car and broke my nose one time, and then put a gun to my head. When I was about 12, they kicked me in my back. I fell to the floor face down, and of course they put their foot in my back and put the gun to my head, pulled the trigger, and like called me racial slurs and just say something, a little whatever. And I was like, man, this is as kids, and they continue to do that. They continue to do that now. So we definitely have to. This is a good topic to bring in a conversation, and good. I know we got to continue reading, but what Bobby Seales is breaking down is what was happening at that time is still prevalent today, and we got. I guess not only be as revolutionaries, we have to learn our rights. And then as vanguards of the community, we need to know tactical defenses on how to protect ourselves and the community in case shit comes down. That's what we need to be forming and thinking about. And so it's so nice to read these books, to like get the knowledge of what was going on cracking back then to what is happening in today's time and period, and how we can apply that to especially when we're talking about the school to prison pipeline. I'm really adamant about that, and I hope that should keep in all our conversations all the time, because it's continuing to happen. Whether it's through CPS, like you were saying, Che, it starts with like CPS and stuff. So you didn't have enough money to have. They go to your house and do a check. Well, you only had hot dogs and eggs or something. Well, we don't see all the 4 basic food groups. Well, that's all we had that week. We had hot dogs and eggs or whatever the case may be. And they'll take the kids away from that and then put them in the system. And then we already know the system is just another money-making thing. The whole judiciary system, like even social workers, they're like soft cops. They're there to get paid. They get paid to put kids into the system. And then everybody else gets paid. The lawyers, the judge, the transportation. And that's when they start you off. And then they already put you as a number. You're in the system. Just do one little infraction. Like you said, I ran away from home and this is what happened for me. Like, whoa, man, like, why don't you just take me back home and stuff? Or why didn't they afford like family counseling? Like, why did you run away from home? Or is it a family problem, or it's just like something we all done? I bet you we all ran away from home. The hell. But they targeted us. I didn't see little Johnny and Susie going to jail for running away from home. No, like, let's take Johnny and little Susie back home to their house so they can feel real happy in a warm house. But no, they'll put us in a cold cell, or they'll deny us, or they'll deprive us of what it is to be a home. And they'll finally, they get to a point where they're go to foster care if nobody else claims them, if the family didn't back them up or get their shit right. And then what happens from there? Like the kids get mistreated, abused, and this and that, and they get targeted for the whole sex trafficking shit that's going on. Like, it's a fucked up system.
It is, and this is a children's liberation issue, because next to elders, children and youth and babies and infants are a deeply oppressed class. We are a deeply oppressed class. You know, we face oppression in the hands of our parents. of the systems that we go through, with the prisons, with the state. Like, we live in a world that sees children as cattle. They're not cattle. Like, like, what for you? We're not human under this system. We're not human under this whole thing that they want to keep performing every single freaking year, and think that are the problem. Look what happened with the No Child Left Behind program. Look at what happened with that.
Right. That fucked a bunch of kids up bad.
But we're the problem. They're the problem, right? We're the freaking problem. Like, we were causing all this oppression, and we're causing so much violence, and you wish it would stop. But you blame us instead of the people pulling the strings for why we are doing what we're doing. And you have so much smack for us. You have so much smack against us. This is, this is why also Palestinian children are being literally killed in droves because of your hatred against children, because y'all don't care. And the ironic thing is, y'all used to be children yourselves, which is so just funny to me. It's funny to me because
The system won't, though.
you've been in it.
The system thinks it can do no fucking wrong, though. It thinks it's doing some good here by, dragging kids from one abusive situation to another.
Yeah, like, the teachers, the parents, they're guilty. They're guilty. They're guilty. It doesn't matter. They're guilty. And the fact of the matter is, I've been in the slave factory complex for 13 years, once again, the entire time. So I know how they feel about children, especially African neurodivergent children, because that triple-edged sword of being African and being a child and being autistic, is that double-edged class sword that I had to really, really fight through all those years. And, the suppression against me through the IEP 504 plans, the Savant complex that they pushed on me, like, that's class warfare against children. And they don't care. They don't give a damn. Because the fact of the matter is, it's all about making us subservient to capitalism, subservient to the system. And, when we're too quote unquote ghetto, when we're too ratchet, we get put in the concentration camps for it. But we're the problem.
I think a good key point that was made this weekend also was it does start within the school age children, and how can parents be more active in their schools? Like, if there's a teacher teaching some stupid ass shit, check that teacher. Or if there's something going on in your community, fix it within the community. Nobody has to call 911. Nobody has to call the cops for nothing. And create support numbers. Another key point that was made. Where, like, if something's wrong with so and so, have their neighbor's phone number. You don't have to do a welfare check calling the 911. You could do a welfare check within the neighborhood,
Community,
and so forth and so.
but
Unity,
they
community,
don't get
unity.
that. They don't get that.
Well, that's our job to help them get that. Right.
Right. They need to get it because we're not the problem here. We're not involved in this. You guys are. You guys are, because y'all allow it. Y'all allow it. And you think that we're the problem. Y'all believe anything. Y'all will believe anything. Y'all don't even know how to freaking read properly. Like, y'all can't even
They
beyond
actually
like beyond sixth grade. Like, it's so ridiculous how we're the problem, but our real enemy is right there in front of you, and you still think we're the problem, that we still need reforming. It's ridiculous.
Sorry, don't mind me. My dogs are getting all up in my business here. Comrade Joe, if you're ready, we can start reading the next section. Comrade Joe, you with us?
Oh yes, is bailing out the brothers?
Yes.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask if you can just not put it so high because I have everybody's picture up on top. So when you scroll up, leave it like a few sentences down, and I'm ready.
Okay.
Bailing out, bailing out the brothers. There was supposed to be a court hearing at 9 a.m. concerning the lowering of the bail, which had been arranged by Beverly Axelrod and another lawyer. Hugh had a press conference, and he blew those pigs away. He talked about the power structure like it had never been talked about before. He brought out significant things about why we had guns, the reason we had guns. We had guns to defend ourselves against the 400-year-old brutality and oppression, which is now over 500 years. They were asking him if he was anti-white. He said, "No, we're not anti-white. I don't hate a person because of the color of their skin. I hate the oppression that we're subjected to daily by the racist pigs and other racets of life who attack and murder and brutalize us. Those who have been brutalized for over 400 years." And Huey just ran it all down about the wars. Politics is war without bloodshed. And war is a continuation of politics with bloodshed. You talk about antagonistic contradictions of non-antagonistic contradictions that exist between the people, and those were supposed to represent them in the government. I remember him running down the antagonistic contradictions that are created by the power structure attacking the people, or attacking those who disagree with the basic political decisions that have been made by the power structure and put on the people's heads. And when the people disagree with those political decisions made by the power structure always sends in guns in force. By sending guns in force, attacking the people, the contradiction becomes very, very antagonistic. Therefore, the people should always stand, and they do stand for peace. The people, the masses of the people want peace. The masses of the people do not want war. Huey, quoting Chairman Mao, said the Black Panther Party advocates the abolition of war. But at the same time, we realize that the only way you can rid a war many times is through a process of war, because war has been unjustly waged against us in our communities. Therefore, Huey says the only way you can rid of guns is to pick up a gun and get rid of the guns of the oppressor. The people must be able to pick up guns to defend themselves against all forms of aggression, all forms of racism, all forms of real racism. We went out of the courtroom to sit down, and the lawyer from Sacramento and Beverly Axelrod were making motions for lowering of bail. And we looked and listened. The judge didn't want to lower the bail. He started citing off the records of brothers who had been arrested before. The hardcore brothers off the block. Even Emory Douglas, an artist who went to art college in some kind for 2 years, had a record on him. He had been arrested 3 or 4 times, spent 5-6 months in jail. It came down to Aldridge Cleaver's. Excuse me, let me start off that. It came down to Aldridge Cleaver's record, and Beverly Axelrod began to explain how Aldridge Cleaver was arrested, that he didn't have a gun or anything. That in fact, and it was true, Ramparts had set him up there. That he was a writer for Ramparts, and he knew that the Panthers were going. So Ramparts set him up there to cover the story as a reporter. And Beverly Axelrod blew so beautiful about how Aldridge Cleaver was snatched up off the corner just because he was black. She went further to prove this to the judge about how everybody had been witnessed a black woman who was a senior citizen of Sacramento and not a Black Panther being snatched up by the pigs and taken apart just because she was black. That was very important, I think. And she said, that's why Aldridge Cleaver was arrested. A man with a camera in his hand, without a gun, who was taking pictures, just like 20 other cameramen took pictures on that corner. The same corner where the Black Panther Party got arrested. She blew a beautiful set Beverly Axelrod did in defense of Aldridge. And they should release Aldridge, that he's on parole. And there's no reason for them to hold him. They arrested him erroneously, etc. I could just imagine what the etc. words were, which they did. Because that's why what Aldridge was doing, Aldridge was righteously covering. Although Aldridge was a Panther at the time, he didn't have a gun, and he was functioning as a reporter. And so she blew. They announced that the brothers were supposed to appear the next day at the municipal court across the street. And me and Huey went down and came back the next day, and we appeared in court, and we vowed that if the brothers weren't out by Friday at 2 o'clock, that by hook or crook, any way we can, we're going to get that money. The bail, to bail the brothers out. We were worried about the money. We figured we had a few funds coming in, but we were going out to get that money. We were going to bail all the brothers out. But our most extreme worry, our major worry was Aldridge Cleaver, because Aldridge Cleaver was on parole. He just spent 9 years in prison, and he could possibly go back to prison. And that was what we worried most about. Huey said, the reason we're going to get those brothers out is because those brothers off the block who stuck with the organization, who took the time to learn the principles of the organization, and who took time to understand and follow the leadership of the organization, they are real true heroes. Not us and Bobby, I said. You're right, Huey. I know. You're right. By hook or crook, I'm with you. We're going to get the money to get the brothers out of jail. The next day we came up early in the morning, and before the brothers came to court, we cornered a bail bondsman, a jive motherfucking bail bondsman. We found him out later to be a real jive dude. He was a black one. Name was Glenn Holmes, who was in Sacramento. He had a statewide license. He could bail out anybody all over the state. We called on him and started talking to him, and Huey got on the side of him, and I got on the other side of him, and we got to rapping to him. We got talking to that brother so strong and so hard and so fast and running it down to him why we should bail these brothers out of jail. The fact that we had enough publicity to raise the money, just that we have to get these brothers out of jail now. And these brothers, their feet have to hit the ground. Work hard. This is something that Huey always stressed, and I really learned from Huey. The meaning of being dedicated to pulling brothers out of jail. Huey was rapping on that dude and running it down to him about how he should go forth and bail the brothers out of the credit on credit. Glenn Holmes was the dude who went and bailed me and Mark Comfort out initially on half credit because they had put up what was half the bail. But we talked to him before the court appearances came about. He says, all right, I'll do it. And Glenn Holmes did it. He said, they'll be out by 6 this evening. And he said, well, we said 2 o'clock. But if they can hit the ground free like this by 6 o'clock, we waited for the court appearance, for the arraignment. And they arraigned the brothers, charged us all with conspiracy to commit a misdemeanor. Some bullshit. They said the misdemeanor being disturbing the peace, disturbing the decorum of the legislator, conspiracy to break a law. A conspiracy is that you conspire to break a law, but we weren't guilty of such a thing. Huey only told me to go to steps as we went inside the place to observe the legislature, but it disturbed it. The fact that we were running down what was TV camera disturbed it. The first thing that the speaker said that we walked inside, and when the cameraman flushed through another door and ran all up the aisle, the speaker said, "Get those cameras out of here. Who brought those news reporters in? Get those cameras out of here. They had no right to be in here." And blah, 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 blah. That's what we said. He never said, "Get those cameras out of here." Yes?
Your audio is breaking up some. It sounds like you got a finger over the mic or something. It's like getting muffled.
I think I did. I think I held my phone wrong. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
It's exactly what I did. So let me go back to, let me see.
Got those news here.
Okay, so let's start off with this. The fact that we were running down was that the TV disturbed it. Cameraman disturbed it. The first thing that the speaker said when we walked inside and went, the cameraman flushed through another door and ran all up the aisles. The speaker said, "Get those cameramen out of here. Who brought those news reporters in? Get those cameramen out of here. They have no right to be here." And blah, 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 blah. That's what we said. He never said, "Get those Panthers out of here with those guns." Never said that all through the whole set. It never was said. I mean, that's the legal technicality of the whole thing. Of course, I served 5 months in jail, and Tucker served 6, along with some other Panthers who served other misdemeanor times for doing nothing illegal. Anyway, we got the brothers out of jail. 6 o'clock, we were waiting for them. They start filing them out. They filed the brothers out. And as each brother would come out, Huey would give him a big hug and pat the brother on his strong revolutionary back. Hit him on his strong revolutionary back and say, "Brother, are you glad you did it?" And the brother would say, "Right on." Huey said, "We did a good job." And hit every brother on the back. And that come downstairs. And when Warren Tucker, the man on my left, with the 357 Magnum, was the last one to come out, he said, "Well, damn, I was getting ready to say, these motherfuckers better let me out of this motherfucker." He saw everybody else leaving. We got those brothers out, and Huey greeted them as revolutionaries. Huey greeted them as dedicated brothers. We piled them in the car, and we took them back home, to their home. In the confines of a decadent ghetto that we live in Oakland, we brought them a beer or two and let them drink the beer. Our juveniles were still in jail. Bobby Hunt, Orlando Harrison, one other brother who was in North Oakland working on the poverty program with me, and two other brothers of Mark Comforts. Man, that's powerful. I'll let somebody else read because I want somebody else to read too. But whew, anybody got anything to say on that?
Okay, I'm gonna read it. Gotta erase it. Okay. The Black Panther newspaper. A colossal event had occurred that Huey P. Newton had put in motion. A colossal event had occurred that had significant meaning to the Black Panther Party. News of the existence of the party went all the way around the world. A few days after we came back from Sacramento, Huey found out the fact that we went to the Capitol was plastered across the front pages of London Times. Things developed from there. We now had a case where some 24 brothers were charged with conspiracy, $2,200 bail apiece. When we tried to raise money at the time, we found that the Black Panther Party was known everywhere. We thought the brothers home. We brought the brothers home from jail. We went over to the Black House, which had actually been named and established as the San Francisco headquarters of the Black Panther Party. Elders Cleaver had named it that, and Huey and I had agreed to it. Black House was where Brother Elders had been living. The objective was to get out of the Black Panthers, was to get out the Black Panthers. Huey and I had been around the Black House all day, that third day after Sacramento, and news reporters were calling us and trying to get in touch with us and calling Eldridge Cleaver. Everyone was trying to vamp in on us to see what was going on. They called all day. One call told us that the next call morning they wanted us on Channel 7 on the AM program. We agreed to be there. That night we got to set out. We got to lay out the 10-point program and platform and program for the party's newspaper, and to lay out the second issue of the volume 1 of the Black Panther, Black Community News Service. We had a lot of things set up to lay out the Black Panthers. Emory Douglas, who's now our Minister of Culture, had brought over the materials, and Huey was explaining to him about revolutionary culture, explaining that the real culture is revolutionary culture. Huey told him that if he was going to be an artist for the Black Panther Party, he had to relate specifically to the revolutionary culture, the Black people. Emory explained that he had related to revolutionary culture. I asked him a couple of questions myself. I remember trying to explain to Emory that culture is basically learned behavior and what is involved in learned behavior, especially when you speak of Black people and revolutionary culture. The Molotov cocktail had become a significant part of Black people's culture, and now Huey P. Newton had brought forth the meaning of guns, organized guns and force, as a significant part of Black people's culture. They had to graduate from rocks and bottles and Molotov cocktails. Huey was saying to a level where they understood the proper use of organized guns and force, and where they understood what a political party represented when he started to go forth to liberate Black people. I was hoping that he understood that the Black Panther Party was concerned specifically with the basic political desires and needs of the people, and seeing that those be answered in a revolutionary fashion. The brother was all hard shaking and yes, sir, saying, yeah, I can understand it. I can dig it. He just wanted to do some art. So we set up right that night and sat down myself and laid out the first little Black Panther headline, The Truth About Sacramento. Many people ask us where we get our money from. The power structure has been accusing us of being robbers and thieves. This is not the case. A large portion of our money comes from many groups and people who support us. That includes different sources: lawyers, groups, church organization, other groups, other types of organization, and many people who sympathize with the party because they have taken time to read our newspaper. Speaking engagements are another way to get funds. Sometimes we get $500 and $1,000 for speaking, especially when myself and Catherine were moving around, but they still are being given to our other leaders of the party, and these funds help the party function. One of the main sources of funds is the party's newspapers. It is an organ which lumpen proletariat brothers and sisters produce. Eldridge Cleaver is the chief editor of the paper, but the quality and development of that paper has come from brothers who have previously been in jail, brothers who have previously just been on the block, lumping proletariat everyday Afro-American brothers who became politically organized and politically conscious and learned the skills in producing that paper. The brothers in the party don't 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 receive any kind of salary from the Black Panther Party, but for every paper that they sell, they keep 10 cents. We give a lot of the young brothers, the little brothers in the community, 10 cents for every paper they sell. Sound like the young laws. Some of the brothers were able to buy themselves bicycles for selling so many papers. This is very good because it is constructive. It helps them work, and at the same time, it helps the party get correct information about the party to many more people. The paper has the highest circulation of what of what are generally called underground newspapers. Although we are not really underground, we very much on top of the ground. Underground is a way to distinguish us from the establishment press. Our circulation is 125,000 copies per week as at present, and is racing rapidly across the country. The brothers in the party, paper staff, and the brothers and sisters who work to help produce that paper are the ones who deserve credit for seeing to it that the paper consistently moves, for gathering the news and for becoming reporters of news in the community where they can serve the people with the truth of what's happening. So it is not a case of some white people behind the scenes putting our paper out of some special Jewish money being the sole source of the party's existence. This is not the case at all. It is a thing where the African American lumpen proletariat has become the vanguard, and the newspaper in itself is key in teaching the people that the brothers in the community who are revolutionaries, who want revolutionary change, are not about to step back from the power structure, but in fact, the party is going to go forth and consistently going forth. Some very tricky methods have been used to try and stop our paper from being published. We received a letter from the Printers Union of America. Sounds like COINTELPRO, Union of America, which stated that since our paper has become such a professional quality, they demanded that we have our paper printed and put together in a union printer's shop. We understood that this was part and parcel of FBI and police attempts to try to stop the Black Panther Party news, 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 newspaper. Howard Quinn, the play, Howard Quinn, the place where we print the paper is a union shop, but the printers union was referring to the people who laid the paper out, the members of the Black Panther Party. Since we understand the workers and we understand that we are workers, 4 or 5 of the brothers and sisters who actually do the layout of the paper and who are party members join the printers union, and that stopped all of the noise. In the past, a large number of papers have been stopped and thousands of issues were received soaking wet. They went on for a year. They went on for a year off and on. In the process of shipping the paper, the airlines would hold them up in their frightening operation for a week or two. This included American Airlines, TWA, and United. We got the records to prove it. We also have records of notices we sent to the airlines saying we were going to sue them for holding our papers up like that, and sometimes costing 50 or 60,000 papers not to show up at all, or to show up when they couldn't be sold 2 and 3 weeks after the date on the paper. There are also numerous attempts to fractionalize the workers inside of the Howard Quinn printing company, where they roll our paper off the press. Half the workers got on our side, and the other half were on the side of the CIA, FBI operation, who said they were going to quit Howard Quinn if they didn't stop printing the Black Panther Party paper. The other half, the workers who were on the outside, were the ones who ran the press downstairs. They were getting along fine with us because we were helping them make more money. We were running off more paper than any other underground newspaper printed at Quinn. They said they would quit if Quinn didn't continue printing the Black Panther Party newspaper. Well, we survived though to that and finally started sending papers on a COD host basis so as to be able to collect insurance from the airlines. Suddenly, a lot of our papers began to arrive on time, although there are still some cases where they holding them up. In the past, there were actually cases where the police department would be out on the airport waiting for the particular airplane that our papers were coming in on. The airlines were checking out the papers and giving them to the police, and the police would take our paper property somewhere and destroy it. It costs about 8 cents to produce the paper, but with mailing and shipping costs, it comes to about 10 cents a paper. The paper sells for 25 cents, but we only receive about 5 cents every paper. This money goes back to pay rent on our office, phone bills, and other expenses. We are very proud of our paper. It comes from the hardcore of the Black community, the grassroots. This should let people know that we have a national organ that they can read to keep themselves informed about the Black Panther Party and what's going on in the world in those trying revolutionary times.
That's
Somebody
some
else?
serious fuckery they were doing there.
Yeah.
Like, that makes me glad that now we have digital means to distribute the Panther newsletter. You know, we've got the rightonnewsletter.com website, and we make sure that we get a copy of the digital file into all of, like, our people's hands, as well as, you know, the other, you know, parties that we network with, like amongst the Second Rainbow Coalition. Like, we text those out immediately of like, here you go, here's your newsletter, and they can't stop that shit. You know, police can't fucking, you know, prevent your text message from going through with here's the link. Go ahead and download it. Go ahead, Chris. I see you got your hand up.
Did you say Joe? You kind of blurped out. Oh,
My dog's trying to be all up in the way.
oh, okay. No, I mean, this has been a damn powerful reading tonight. But some of the key points I wanted to highlight right here when going to now that social media and much respects Comrade Zen and the other comrades that are working on the new Black Panther or the United Panther Movement newspaper, like keeping the history alive, much respects. But the extent that they were doing it to then, it was really nice because, you know, nowadays, like, that's when people, that they even mentioned, like, that's when something would get mailed out. Well, when's the last time you wrote a letter and put it in an envelope and put a stamp on it and send it to someone? It's just almost unheard of nowadays. But how they did that, and now versus social media today. And they were saying they were still getting attacked where they wouldn't even deliver so many thousands of papers and this and that. They got wet or they just disappeared or whatever that case may be. But they do that to us today on social media, depending on who you are and who you know.
Yeah.
A lot of your posts don't go through. A lot of, like they said, they would send it out, but like 2 weeks too late. Or you might send a notification like, hey, there's an event going on tomorrow. And of course, certain events we don't want to promote because we want to keep little law interaction from getting to it, knowing that we're already under that eye. But you know, promoting stuff, and they keep it, and they keep our posts, and they hide them, and they allow us to the amount of people we can share our information with. Of course, the more we share, the more they restrict us. So it's kind of like a policy that they're using today. Another good point they were saying, and at the beginning of today's reading, is when if we're comrades and if we go down together, we got to stick together, like no comrade left behind. Like the saying says, if I was to fall
Exactly.
with my rifle in my hand, pick up my rifle and keep on going forward. But the fact that they worked so hard to get all of the comrades bailed out and out of jail, even though eventually that we know the criminal system always you know, find some reason to hold us for how many periods of time. Fortunately, it was only 4, 5, 6 months they mentioned. I mean, that's like a walk in the park. But at the same time, it was nice that they made sure that everybody had the chance to bail. So not looking out for yourself. We always, in our movements and our struggles, we have to look out for each and every one of our comrades. Because we have created a brotherhood, a sisterhood, and that's more powerful than anybody could even imagine. And that's all I have to say. There was a lot of good things. Anybody else want to say anything about today's reading? Like, had so many good points. Thank you.
I love everything you just brought up there about that. That's where that camaraderie comes in. If we genuinely have each other's backs, nobody left behind. Comrade Shay, I saw you pop your hand up. Go ahead. And
Yeah.
also, I will be right back.
In regards to how they were being treated, with some of the newspapers, how the FBI, etc., how it was handling the situation. It took me back to prison where, people, their mails were limited depending on what was said in the letter. You either get half of the letter or you don't get the letter at all. And Spanish letters, you know, people didn't get them at all because there was nobody there to read, that read Spanish. So the prisoners there that spoke Spanish, that only spoke Spanish, they were in trouble, man, because they wasn't able to receive a mail from their loved ones in the street because of the fact that nobody in prison, none of the officials, I must say, spoke or read Spanish. So it was it was very discriminated. We were always discriminated on based on that. Now if a now in English, if a sister in the street was send a brother a letter and say, honey, I would love to do this, do that to you, and without even mentioning it, that alone was a bad. They would take that letter and rip it and give you half of the letter. That's what they'll do. They'll give you half of the letter, and they will not give you that piece. So you read you when you get the letter, you ought to get half of it. So I mean, you be surprised at shit that they used to do in prison.
That's fucked up, comrade. And nowadays they use the computers for it. They literally take every page of your letters, going in and out, and scan them into the computer system to have an AI algorithm search your letters for any like keywords that might be suspicious.
Techno-fascism.
Yep.
Because that's really what it is.
I believe they do that on our phone too. Any keywords or anything like that, it triggers a recording, and those little sons of bitches are always out there to be, getting in somebody's Kool-Aid. That's all.
Right.
Or even like the camera system that they have set up. I mean, we're on camera more hours in a day than we know. Go to the store, go to a stoplight, go anywhere.
Right.
You go past somebody's house, you're on camera. So we're on cameras like almost all damn day long. And our phone, they track us by, especially if you have location on. I usually turn it on just to find maps. Sometimes I forget to turn it off. But we are tracked 24/7, not just by what we post and not by what we share, or not just by what we research, but in day-to-day life also. Sons of bitches. That's all.
Right. And now they're using facial recognition software to try to catch people up. And most of the time that shit fails and it misidentifies people. There's a lot of people who have been falsely arrested because they got misidentified by
the point.
Fucking AI.
That's the point. Literally using technology as means of violence because it's capitalism in decay, the technology version. And
right.
It's built to fail. That's literally the entire point. These robots, they build those robots so it can purposely fail, because that's literally what fascism is all about. It's when they feel that capitalism is in decay and being threatened by the proletariat masses and the lumpens especially, they go out whatever avenue to try to keep itself up, in the means of AI, in the means of uh facial recognition, and these things don't even work. But that's literally the entire point. They don't
It
work.
widens the reach of their net, because then they're like, oh, well, we misidentified you for this crime of that person we were fucking looking for. But since we've got you here, let's see if we can create some crime for you to be charged with too.
That's literally the thing. They create the problem so they can justify it. I mean, why do they think that all this stuff is, going on? I mean, where do they think that come from? From them. It came
Right.
from them. It came
Right.
from them.
Because they not only got to justify the expenses of their current budget, so create some, but they got to try to justify expanding that budget and get more next year and more the year after that and even more the year after that,
It's profit.
and pretend like they have a fucking job to do when really they're the ones creating the fucking crimes in the first place.
Right. Profit, 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 profit. That's it. There's literally no other reason other than profit. Like it's not about it was never about safety. It was never safety,
Never.
because if it really was, then they would not create the conditions in which it makes it unsafe for anyone, and then try to play mind games on us and try to, justify run in front of our face, even though they pull the strings, because we know they're pulling the strings. They play mind games with us too, to try to make us act like we're stupid, and that, we don't even know where the root cause is, where it's coming from. So, like, come on, there's literally no other reason. It's not safety. It's not safety. Okay? Because
No, it never was.
if they really were about safety, then they would not create the conditions where it's literally like literal like chaos. Okay?
They exist to protect capital, and that's it.
And that's the truth. That's the truth.
I was going to share too, with that old facial profiling. They've been doing that to us. Racial profiling and racial profiling. Facial profiling. They're really kind of similar prior to the cameras that are in extent now. Because if you looked a certain way or you dressed a certain way, you were already profiled.
Yep.
Now, like, I travel a lot through airports, and I know I'm on damn camera. I can go into a damn store and they like have like 2 or 3 people following me. I was like, yo, I'm not gonna take nothing. Like, you want, and I give him my hand. Like, you want to hold my hand as I walk through the store, or if not, go somewhere else. Like, but they do that to us, and then they find specific peoples to target. They don't target everybody. They target specific peoples. And now, fortunately, I'm getting into my 50s. It's kind of died down a little. But when I was a youth, I was always followed. I was always monitored by somebody, whether it was in school or at a store or anywhere I went. Like, oh, he fits the depiction that he's going to do something. We're just going to wait for him to do something. But
Right.
and then one other thing before I finish saying that, I wanted to say, what was nice is the Black Panthers got the youth to go out there and push the newspaper or the letters to the peoples, to the houses, or to the community, and they would pay the kids. I thought that was a perfect point that they made, giving them an incentive to work. Or what it is, like, if you take your time to do something, the money you can buy yourself. And it was cute. They said they were able to buy themselves new bikes and stuff to the candy store, or got some ice cream or something. I mean, that's beautiful to hear. Like, and that's what we have to do is promote those youth. Because when we're talking about what all this injustice that's going on, and it's going to continue going on until we put a stop to it. But how are we going to prepare the youth to stand and understand that from early on, so they don't get corrupted in the mind by their false teachings, whether it be through religious aspects or the scholastic aspect in early on schools, until a kid's smart enough to like, no, I'm going to go to ethnic studies. Oh, then they target you again. But anyway, I just thought that was a real cool part in this last reading too. I just wanted to bring that out. But no, like, let us never not think that we are under the eagle's eye, because they're watching everything we say and everything we do. And there's this other weird thing I thought to myself this morning. I went to this historical area, and there was a hummingbird hovering in front of my face and my head, but it didn't look like a regular hummingbird. It looked like something different because it just stood right there looking at me. And of course, I tracked animals and stuff. That's besides the point. But I found out that they use those drones, and they're even disguising them as little hummingbirds that you think it's just a hummingbird, but they're even watching you like that. I was like, what the hell? And it sounds kind of weird and kind of quacky. That's what I thought to myself until I talked to other people that have seen the same thing. Like, and then, I don't know, maybe somebody could research that. They use hummingbirds as these little hover things to watch us. Besides the other things that, apparatus that you would see in the sky that are watching you. No, they even try to disguise it even to that point. And that's all.
Oh, around here, they've even got pretty decent sized fucking drones that are just constantly flying overhead with their video cameras going. And I know for a fact they're going because one of my neighbors likes to fuck with them and take his little laser pointer and point it at the cameras to blow them out for a minute. And every fucking time he does it, once the camera starts functioning again, it'll fly right over his spot and, like come down low, like, who are you? Why are you pointing lasers at this? It's like, get your fucking pig plate out of our faces and we won't be getting hit with lasers.
Oh yeah, they do. They're the Chicago police is doing the same thing here with the Shot Spotter program, whatever the fuck that is, trying to detect gunshots in quotes, because the sounds that they detect are not even gunshots at all. And once again, it's just another way of suppression against African lumpen people and working class people. Like literally, like it's not even doing anything. These drones that they put in the sky in our neighborhoods that they've destroyed and still destroying and gentrifying, trying to find quote unquote gunshots. They're not even finding a damn gunshot because, like, I mean, and it's not even the question, because, I mean, where do they think the gun violence is coming from? They made us use guns as means of violence against each other and not for revolutionary means. You know what I'm saying? Like, they created that condition on top of the drug epidemics, the suppression, and all that. The gun violence, I mean, it came from that. So, like,
we're losing your video, comrade.
It's wait, you hear me, right?
There we go.
Okay.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, bet. That program, that's the ShotSpotter program, it's just, once again, it's just another means of suppression against African lumpen proletariat people. And it's not even serving a freaking purpose, because that's literally the whole point. You can literally use fireworks for gunshots. So it doesn't even make any sense. And they create the conditions where we have gun violence in our communities, where we have gun warfare that's not even used for revolutionary means and as a means of war against amongst the people, with amongst the community, and they try to fix it by putting, once again, using techno-fascism against us to try to solve, in quotes, the problem, but they create the problem. So, like, fuck that.
And don't dare be fucking poor and have an old beater car that backfires. They'll think it's a gunshot and fucking, you'll be getting swarmed because of that stupid program.
That's suppression. That's how suppression works. They don't care. They create the problem so they can find it, and they can even call it that, even though they create the problem. They create the problem, they find it, and use it against the people, against poor people and against homeless people. And when you get up here to Chicago, you'll definitely see it, up close, because they still have the spotter program, and there's still campaigns around the city to end the program, to end funding for it, because it's not even serving a freaking purpose. And that's literally the point, because they tried to wipe out my entire neighborhood with the crack crisis back in the 80s and the 90s, and the AIDS crisis. And they want to find the problem even though they've created it, and almost killed my entire neighborhood off. Really?
Disappointed but not surprised. That's how they operate.
That's how they operate. And we want to keep thinking that we made progress with all these all this progress and stuff like that, but we haven't. It's got worse. And we have like a cop academy here now, because clearly going to city hall wasn't enough. It was never enough, because they were not going to listen to us either way. It didn't matter. They were not going to listen. They don't care. They do not care. They never cared. So why do we keep going to these people knowing that they don't care for us? Why? It's like being on autopilot all the freaking time, because we don't know what to do. We just think that we go to Daily Plaza downtown and thinking that we're making revolution happen. No, it's not. It's, once again, it's literally like clockwork here with these nonprofits, and they exacerbate the problem. They exacerbate the problem, and they try to find it so they can suppress us. I mean, they literally cut down the trees that we need in Woodlawn, in Jackson Park, to build a war criminals presidential library, and putting African working class people at risk, African workers at risk of getting kicked out. And there was there's not a discussion, not a meeting with the people, nothing. And that's the point. That's how they work. This is how they work. And we think that this is okay, because we have been on autopilot and been so suppressed with staying in line for so long that it just lost complete control. And we see the result tragically here in Chicago. So, once again, we have to be wary of that, because they will find whatever they can and make up whatever. They'll make up anything in order to suppress you. And that happened to me in the slave factory complex growing up. So I can say this.
Oh,
What was that, Comrade Shay?
no, I was just listening to Comrade Shanti talk, make so much, information, that's true. Why, why is it that our people always think that going to the system is a way of finding a solution to their problems. When in reality, the system is the cause of the problem.
Yeah.
But then we have to understand that we're dealing with our people that are very colonized. Very. I mean, just keep in mind we've been stripped completely of our culture, our history, our language, everything. And so just like it's just like a person not know where to turn or how to turn. So that's the only solution is to go into the system. But and so that's where we come in. And we have a big responsibility of educating our people to the problem.
And
it's not easy.
yeah, and right now is that time. Like now, not tomorrow.
Yeah, right now it's the time. Exactly. Now, not tomorrow. No, man. Tomorrow doesn't exist. Now it exists. The moment. This very moment.
Yes.
Matter of waking people the fuck up, because honestly, to answer both of you as far as the why, I think at least a huge part of it is this being a psyop of the system doing its damnedest. I mean, with everything from fucking stupid propaganda TV shows and movies and whatnot, to convince people that your oppressor is your fucking friend. It's a form of Stockholm syndrome of, people deep throating the fucking boot and thinking that the cops are actually their fucking friends. And it's like, no, they exist to oppress you and me and every fucking else around here.
Like, I mean, getting
it's
fingerprints.
Just like that book, Black Skin, White Mask.
Oh yeah, I need to read that book already. I need to read that book already because
Black Skin, White Mask.
Yeah. And once again, like they create. I mean, it's like they're so freaking brainwashed. I mean, like literal tools of the bourgeoisie, having an event, getting your child's literal fingerprints. Come on. Like, come on, really?
I actually called my mom out for that the other day because a little backstory. When I was in second grade and third grade, my parents had pulled me out of public school and made me go to the church cult school. Second grade, I was at the Baptist church school. Third grade at the Pentecostal church school. And at that one of the members of that Pentecostal church just so happens to be an FBI agent. And he came in demanding that he get to fingerprint all of us kids.
They make it fun. They make it fun. They make it appealing. That's what they do.
Yeah, he tried to play it off of like, oh, this is for your children's safety. And my parents disagreed about that one. My mom did try, telling my dad, like, yeah, no, we probably shouldn't do this. And my dad was like, no, he's our friend. He's just looking out for our kids. And so like they let it happen. Even like I didn't want to, but I was 7. So fuck what I thought about, any kind of agency over my fucking fingerprints.
A child's livelihood, fuck your autonomy, just give them your fingerprints. They're not going to do anything, right?
Right. Like even at 7 years old, I'd already seen enough shit to definitely be questioning the role of the police in the fucking community and, the feds too. And was like, I'm not comfortable with this.
And that's what the bourgeoisie does. They make oppression appealing. They sweet talk. They make it sweet enough so that you can fall for it. And plus the propaganda they push on you through movies, through music, through television, through mass media, all those things. That's literally what they do. And, you know, like we, we are just so freaking brainwashed that we think that this is, life. It's not life, because they'll literally use that to suppress your children. And this is why I say this is a children's liberation issue, because we are an oppressed class. So the fact of the matter is we have no agency over our livelihood. We just give our livelihood away to these people that will literally suppress us and kill us on sight if they need to.
The thing is, it's not even necessarily giving it away. It's being coerced and forced, of not being given any choice in the matter.
Right. No,
It,
no. As a child under the system, you have no agency. You have no, livelihood of your own. It's just, whatever comes, whatever comes. And with the oppression of especially colonized children, um, you know, the slave factory to concentration camp complex, because that's literally what it is. Let's call it what it is. Like they don't care about Chicano children. They don't care about African children. They don't care about Boricua children. They will literally use make these events so that they can get your life in their hands to suppress you at any time if they need to. And um they make it appealing enough to where they think that we would just abide with it, plus assimilating in some way in the process, with these mentorship programs and these STEM programs and all this stuff, right? So it's a vicious cycle, uh, with the oppression of of children, of young people, of youth, that you know they once again they think that it's our wrongdoing, and we're just you know crazy, even though they aid in it. They've done it with millennial children with No Child Left Behind, and they didn't do anything to protect those children, right? They
oh
didn't
no,
do they didn't do nothing. They didn't care
that
about those kids. They didn't care
no, that
about
actually hindered so many kids' progress in education rather than helping.
yeah.
It wasn't a no children left behind. It was let's hold them behind.
Like they didn't care about y'all. They didn't give a damn about you. They will literally brainwash you to the point where you think that this is okay. Getting your child's fingerprints with a tool of the bourgeoisie. No, no, no. They did not care about the children of Gen X when the crack crisis was happening. They did not care about the millennial kids, about you guys when No Child Left Behind was going on, and I think it's still going on. And they don't care about Zoomer children and Alpha children. And once again, it's a double-edged sword with the oppression and class warfare against literal children, not only here, but in the global south, as well, especially in the global south, because the oppression is much, much, much worse in all areas, really. So, you know, once again, we many of us think that this is the way, but it's not. It's literally it's killing us on the inside and outside, because once again we think that that this is just progress, but it's not. It's just suppression against your life, in a sweet manner, in a sweet tone. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's the killer part too, because herein comes the pandering of if they say and do abusive shit, but are super sweet about it while they're at it, it's okay, right?
That's how they work.
Fucking abhorrent. Fuck. I just looked at the clock. We are at 2 hours. So I will let y'all take a vote on this and see. Do you guys want to wrap things up here, or do you want to read another section and dive into, possibly being here for another hour, which sometimes we do any fucking ways?
How long is the next portion? Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, that one is just like a third of a page, and the first one is about half.
Comrades, if I can, I'm gonna have to step out. I'm gonna make a phone call, stuff like that. So, much
You're good.
revolutionary love to y'all.
You're good.
Comrades, we'll be here when you get done if you want to join back in.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you guys will probably still be there. Quick phone call. All right.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah, if we're gonna jump into the next section here, is everybody down for that since it's a shorty?
I mean,
Or if
We
you
can
want me to pick up next week at Bob Dylan?
maybe we can do next week. You know,
Fine, buddy. Okay. Here, I'll stop the super bright screen share and give my eyeballs a break then.
Oh God, caught it.
If y'all got any other thoughts about, anything we read tonight or the other tangents related to it?
once again, the newspapers, once again, like y'all said, it's very, very crucial and very, very important that we know what we're going with the newspapers, because we're suppressed in any kind of way, anyway, whether it's physical or digitally. you know we're you know we're under capitalism, so we're suppressed either way. So
Right.
it's very, very important to have some kind of outlet where it's not, how should I say this, where it's not like putting the people at risk, like full on risk. Um, because once again, this was the late '60s, so you know, we the technology, was not even like up there back then, like way, way, way past before that to today. And they were still facing suppression with the newspaper, but you know they pushed through, and they still got the message out. And Emory Douglas, who I love, who I adore, uh Emory Douglas is, one of the examples of using culture for revolutionary means. And I think that's very, very important, especially for us oppressed people, to have a culture where it is actively revolutionary and scientific. And Emory Douglas, you see a lot. If you're familiar with him and his work, like, it's literally like a walking example of using culture for revolutionary means, because African culture, especially here on Agyagela and Internal Island, it's been means of resistance, and if it wasn't for us resisting, we would not have our traditions, our indigenous traditions from back home, stay alive. it would not be alive. And so, you know, that kind of interlinking of history and revolution is very, very apparent in Emery's work. And I love especially the third world women's struggles artwork that he's done. Literally out of this world. So, you know, culture can be used in a revolutionary or reactionary manner. And if you know how to actively put revolution next to our cultural means, then, you know, because culture is what most people are familiar with anyway, especially with African people. So, you know, to be able to use it as an active revolutionary base, you know, that can unlock a lot of breakthroughs and make headway with the people.
Absolutely. Emory Douglas is an enormous inspiration in that facet, just personally as an artist and as a revolutionary. Like, I love his work. It was one of those things that really would grab people's attention, pull them right into the newsletter. And, you know, it told a story with every single one of his pieces of artwork. His style was beautiful too. And that's something that Comrade Minister Richard from NABPP and I tried to incorporate influence-wise when we did the Black August issue, to give a shout out in that manner to Emory for the inspiration with his style. That's why the artwork that we did in there was done in similar to look like, you know, the hand-drawn cartoons, as well as like tag art, things like that that were rich in these urban communities and were a huge cultural influence.
Exactly. And that is what we need to really utilize, because, you know, it's one thing to have culture for recreational means and cultural nationalist means, but it's another thing to use our culture and our history as means of, you know, meeting the masses where they're at. That mass line principle from Mao. And, you know, to use, I mean, we have the banjo and we have the blues and we have other forms of religion, spirituality, music, and traditions that we've kept alive over here on this continent. And, you know, especially in the context of revolution, it's how do we use it in order to wake up their spirit, to wake up their minds. And Emory Douglas is once again a prime example of that for revolution and liberation and resistance here, you know, within this empire. And Emory and a few other figures, especially in the Black arts movement, like Nikki Giovanni, who I love to death, and and Gwendolyn Brooks. Poems and stories about Black life and you know like Black love and all of that. Um, they are my biggest influences as well. Gwendolyn Brooks is a big, 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 big presence here in Chicago. Um, she was that girl, and her Blacks book is literally like you cannot talk about Gwendolyn Brooks without mentioning the Blacks book, because it's literally speaking to African people, to new African people, on where we are at in terms of our social relations, about new African life, especially in Chicago. And um that is also another great example of using culture as like revolutionary means, even though like she largely predates the resistance movements started in the 60s with the Black Panther Party and the Young Lords and those people. But you know, it's those stepping stones that really make that more crystal clear. And poetry, poetry, gospel music can be used in a revolutionary way because that's where we largely are at. You know, this is what we're most familiar with overall. And, you know, like even in the Black Pentecostal Church, um, which has hoodoo influences because the founder of Kojic, Church of God in Christ, did root work. So, you know, using hoodoo as well as an active revolutionary base is also a very, very important aspect in getting our people back to our history, to reclaiming our destiny, to know and embrace who we are, and you know, to educate and to organize and to agitate and strategize towards our true liberation. And um you know that, you know, that's how we should use it.
Well said. Absolutely. I think that's an excellent mic drop moment.
Look, I always do that.
Okay. I am aware. Got me and Shay both here just like, damn. Mm-hmm. Oh, goodness. Well, hell, on that note, if y'all want, we can wrap this up. I think we're all running out of steam. Except maybe Shanti, you still got that youth thing going.
Yeah. I still have it going, and I'm gonna keep it hot. Okay.
Fuck yeah, always. That revolutionary passion, and I dig it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Shit. All right. Well, this has been another excellent discussion. Looking forward to seeing y'all again on Friday. And all power to every one of
People.
the people.
All power to the damn people. Okay.
Fucking A. And Panther love.